Have you told me what fueled your fire?
No, I was waiting for you to ask nicely. Like a good girl, I was sitting here thinking, in a minute she'll ask me what's fueled my fire.
Instead of talking endlessly.
No, you weren't talking endlessly.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Morning.
OMG, you're 4 minutes early.
I've been up and at 'em, Judith, since 7 a.m. this morning.
Up and at 'em, adamant. That's what they used to say. Do you remember Adamant?
I do remember Adamant, Prince
Yes.
Charming. Prince Charming.
Yeah. Well, yes, not him. There was a fictional character before that, Adamant. He was a sort of fixer, a Superman. Up and at 'em, Adamant. That.
No, I don't know who that is at all. It must be before my time.
Yes, it would be. Tell me about your week first. Actually, I'm so not ready. You're so early. I'm not ready. I've got to open my Word document. Hold on. Well, tell me about, while I'm doing that, tell me about your week.
Okay. Well, the most exciting thing about this week was that we had a surprise birthday lunch for Richard, who is Heather's partner, as you know. And
Indeed.
He had the day off on Thursday, which was his birthday. Heather arrived in from Beijing the night before, so presumably a bit jet-lagged. And then on Saturday, they were going round to go and rip out the kitchen in John Street.
Yeah, you see, they're obsessed, aren't they? They're obsessed, those two.
I know, it's hilarious. And she'd arranged a secret fish and chip lunch
nice.
Where everybody arrived, went to the fish and chip shop. I got theirs, and then we all turned up simultaneously at 1:30 with fish and chips and champagne.
Nice.
And he was absolutely flabbergasted. And they'd already ripped out the kitchen and there was no furniture, so we all stood up and ate fish and chips out of the packet in the kitchen, and it was like a normal party because everyone's always in the kitchen at parties.
So did you have ketchup, tartar sauce, mushy peas, salt and vinegar, and all accoutrements?
Well, I ordered a pickled egg for the first time in my life. Well, I thought I've got to try it.
Right.
And someone else had mushy peas, but this is I don't like tomato ketchup. I know I'm in a small minority there, but I absolutely loathe the stuff.
Right.
But I love tartar sauce. That is my favourite.
I like tartar sauce on my fish and tomato sauce on my chips.
Okay, right. Well, someone brought vinegar and salt just in case, but
yes.
they had it at the shop. But
yes,
it was funny because he was in the living room as we all. Well, he said to Heather, I could have sworn I just saw Katie go past the window. Oh my God, there's Nicola.
Oops, blown.
Yeah, and there we were. But they're cracking on. They're removing a party wall between theirs and the neighbours. They're extending the kitchen out to the party wall area, and then they're redesigning the garden. They're taking down the wall between the living room and the dining room and putting in bifold glass doors.
I missed where you said this was. This is your old home in Shore.
Yeah, John Street, yes.
Yeah.
I think you came there briefly the morning of the funeral. And it's quite a tiny little place. Oh, if you did.
No, I haven't been there. I haven't been there, no.
Oh, one of our residences you haven't graced.
No, I haven't been there.
And so it's all going very well. Lots of structural stuff, and they're hoping to have the kitchen in by Christmas, in which case they will host Christmas lunch, but they won't be living there yet.
No. So let me ask a question. Nothing my brother likes to do so much on his birthday is tidy the garage, but how did Heather sell this to Richard the day, it's like, I tell you what we'll do, we'll have the day off on your birthday and we'll go and rip out the party wall at John Street.
Yeah. Well, he's pretty keen on this stuff, apparently.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, he's very keen to get mucked in, because the sooner they get it done, and the sooner they can move from his 3 flats in Hove and get them rented out.
Yes, okay.
And because Heather's got her place in Hove as well, so they get more money for renting things out in Hove than they would in Shoreham.
Oh, so they're going to live in Shoreham?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, that's the plan. Yes.
All right.
the doll's house, as Richard calls it, because he's quite large, and coming down the stairs it's quite tiny. So, but this will all make it feel bigger. That's the thing.
Okay.
So so that was pretty much my week, really. I can't think what else I've been doing. I am struggling to force myself out of the house, as you predicted, due to the dark, cold and wet. And I'm thinking perhaps I'll just give myself the winter off and not go out until the springtime.
Well, I always think it's about when the clocks move. I don't know a single human being who lives in our part of the world that wants to go out when it's cold, wet and dark. Hands up, anybody wants to go out when it's cold, wet and dark. It's like, no, thank you.
Even with a car down the road, I can't make myself do it.
Well, no. Cold, yes. Wet and dark, no, with the car. I could. I often use the car as a coat.
Yes, nothing cold about Phoebe's car. Remember, the heater's stuck on.
Yes, it's stuck on, yes. Better in the winter than the summer.
It's going in to be fixed soon, so that'll be good.
I've got loads to tell you about my week.
Oh, good.
So shall we go?
Yeah, crack on.
Yesterday we had 2 power cuts.
Oh.
And my learning from that is that I am woefully unprepared. So nothing was charged except my Kindle. So it looked as though in the dark and the cold, this was indoors, dark and cold and no internet, no electricity. All I was going to be able to do was go back to bed, where I've got 2 duvets and Jack Reacher on my fully charged Kindle, which would have been a nice day, of course. Fortunately, I had just enough battery left on my iPad to crank up the mini SIM, because of course the internet wasn't working, to contact my afternoon clients to say, we're looking doubtful, and if you can't raise me at 2 and 3 o'clock this afternoon, you know why. I had a candle, but where are the matches?
Oh dear.
You know what I mean? I'm totally unprepared for this. I mean, when I lived with Sharon, when the heat went off, the gas went off, we could plug in an electric heater. I think this house is probably all electric. But anyway, I've got some good news on this, which is when you have a power cut, you can go on this thing called UK Power Networks, which tells you when the power cut in your postcode will be reinstated. But our area was not covered by that. Our area was covered by something called Scottish and Southern England electricity or something like that.
What? Opposite ends of the country?
Well, absolutely mad, isn't it? So I'd never even heard of them. But they invited me to send them a message via Messenger. So I messengered them and said, we're off in SO41. And he said, yes. And Bradley, a very nice man called Bradley, communicated fully with me throughout the process to tell me when we would be back on. So it was about 11ish when it went off, and he said we were back on by 2. And he said, but don't be distraught. What did he say? He said, don't be, hang on. He used a very nice tone with me. Here we go, Bradley. SSEN. Here we go. Hi, Judith. Thank you for getting in touch. I'm so sorry for the power outage. Our engineers are aware of the fault affecting our network and are currently estimating to have you back on by 1400. Please don't be alarmed by this restoration time, as it's only an estimate. We could get you back on sooner than expected. I'm so sorry again, and I can understand this must be very frustrating. Will you manage okay until we can get your power restored? Bradley. To which I said, yes, thank you. And he said, I'm glad to hear it, Judith. We will keep you in the loop so you know what's going on. I mean, I don't know whether they had this house marked down as OAPs who might freeze to death in a power outage. But actually, he must have been a bit confused by an OAP who could communicate on Messenger.
Well, they're all at it nowadays.
Well, I mean, I thought he was charming, and it did come on much sooner and then it went off again, and then it came back on again. But what it made me realise was I need to be. I mean, it's because I'm a Londoner. It never happened when I lived in London. And since I've been travelling around the country, it happens quite a lot. And I need to be better prepared. I need to have a little emergency kit, So things like when I see a candle, I need to think to myself, where are the matches? Because I could have gone back upstairs under the duvets. By about 3 o'clock, I would need to switch on a candle. What's the expression? Light a candle. And I don't know if there's any wherewithal in the house to do that. I don't know where the candles are. I don't know whether the matches are. I don't know if there's a secret cupboard with all of the, torches and things in. Don't know.
I would have a tin with candles, matches, a fully charged extra charging unit. Have you
got one now? What do you mean?
I have.
You have got one of these.
Well, I have got one, and I use it all the time because my phone, your phone runs out of battery while you're out. You just plug it into this charging unit, which is slim and smaller than the phone. Actually, cost me about 35 quid, and you charge that up regularly, and it goes for about 24 hours. It's amazing.
I'm not sure how that's going to work with my iPad.
Well, you plug it in as if you would plug it into a plug that goes into
I see.
Socket.
I've got you. So it's like extra battery on the move.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes, you need some of that, definitely. And it works with iPads, computers, phones, all of it.
All right.
Yeah, very good.
All right.
And in Greece, of course, we were regularly subject
Well, Greece,
to
absolutely.
haircuts,
And St. Martin, you would definitely have a kip because it would likely be a hurricane or something.
Well, I bought something off a deaf lady in Greece, which was like it was a battery-powered thing that you open up, you pull up, and it made a very bright white light, which enabled you to read and cook and all sorts of things. And it had a disco ball alternative, so you could actually switch it on and have coloured lights going across your ceiling.
That might jolly you up, because, of course, yesterday I couldn't cook.
No. And that's where I did actually buy a little colour gas stove and a bottle, but I never dared use it in case I blew myself up. No,
and actually, funnily enough, that was the thing that was upsetting me most, was that, because the one thing you would want when
tea.
Well, not me, never tea, but probably soup.
Yes.
Either a hot lunch or a hot supper. I'm beginning to talk like an old age pensioner now. Let me move swiftly along to my BOAC tin, which indeed I have sourced on eBay and bought.
I was amazed because I thought that was the end of the conversation. Next thing you know, you're all over eBay like a rash.
Well, because I listened to our recording from last week, and actually it was a very international show. We talked about all sorts of foreign places that we'd been to and foreign restaurants that we liked and languages. It was a very we not name dropped, but we were quite show offy about where we'd been in the world, and it was a very international episode. And it's been on my mind all week, this nostalgia about the Junior Jet Club and the BOA. I tell you what it is. I tell you what's triggered it. The Crown Series 3.
Stop.
Oh, no, I'm not going to say anything. Oh. There are all these BOAC jets on it. And that's what triggered it, because it's that period. Okay, so 14 quid it was, and I bought one, and it's coming here later in the week. I might give it to my brother for Christmas, because I think he'll get it as well. I think he'll go, oh, lovely. And he's probably got pencils he could neatly keep in there anyway.
You need to fill it for him, put crunchies in it.
Yes, maybe. I'm not sure he'll remember. He'll probably just look at me quizzically and go, what are you on? Anyway, I've had a really busy week. I've done lots of clients every day. I'm really enjoying it. I'm finding that the momentum becomes energetic, feeling busy and in a helpful way is good. I've fronted up to the homeowners about not wanting to stay here on the 1st of December if they're arriving back at Heathrow at lunchtime that day. Yeah. And they've agreed and liberated me to spend a night in a luxurious Airbnb in the New Forest, which is only about 20 miles. Well, the B&B is about 20 miles from here, which means if there's any delays to their plane, I can nip back and feed the cat. I'll be en route to Tunbridge Wells and then Lewisham after that. Had a strange experience with Airbnb, and I'm not quite sure how to feed this back to them. It must have been a while since I used it. So because they're California based, they both emailed me and texted me in the middle of the night, my time, California time, obviously. So email's silent, and my phone is normally silent, but it was on the bedside table, which is made of wood, and it was on vibrate, and it's like this enormous noise that woke me up in the middle of the night, which you could say is my fault, but we'll come back to that. And they wanted a photograph of my passport and a photograph of me for the two to match, to sort of further prove that I was who I said I was, type of thing, ID. And actually, I find that quite a test at the best of times, because I don't have a phone. So I do it with my iPad. And it's like when you learn to drive and you couldn't really get driving backwards. Do you remember that? It's like reversing around a corner and somebody would say left hand down a bit. And it was like, what? It didn't really work. So what happens on the iPad, probably on the phone as well, is you've got to get your face in this oval. And whichever way you move the iPad, you're moving away from what you're trying to achieve. It's like driving backwards. Anyway, but it seems to me that Airbnb might set their communications, or even me as a user, set our communications preferences, that you only want to hear from them during your waking hours, not during their waking hours.
Yes.
Well, it woke me up. The communications from them woke me up in the middle of the night, because, of course,
don't you have your phone set to turn off between certain times?
I don't use my phone at all. I had it set to vibrate. I've just explained. It was on the bedside table and made this enormous noise because it's on wood. In my handbag, I probably wouldn't have heard it. But that's not the only urgent news I'm waiting. Well, I'm waiting for some urgent news on another topic at the moment. Normally, it wouldn't happen. But my point is that you should be able to have that in your settings, shouldn't you? So that actually when you wake up, you could get all your messages from California, not in the middle of the night. Does that make sense?
Yeah, possibly. I suppose they don't.
I found, well, obviously it's my problem, but I found it difficult.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the user experience, but then most people who have smartphones have it turned off between certain hours.
I don't know that most people do anything at all. I mean, I think the thing you discover online is that nobody's doing the same thing in the same way all of the time.
Possibly.
If that's what, everybody's got a bit of the tech story, but nobody's got all of the tech story. And I don't want some child from California telling me I can turn it off. I want to click a setting saying only communicate with me. Hold all comms until my time zone is awake.
It should be theoretically possible in the software. Yes,
I bet it is. I bet it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going out to lunch tomorrow with Emma to put 4 more storage bags into her storage unit that she's holding for me. Bedding, which I've had to buy in some of these places I've been staying in. Summer clothes, which we won't be needing for a bit. 2 more bags of bits and bobs. I've no idea what's in there, really, except for my cash flow game. But it will be a day out, hopefully. What do we say? Not in the wet and the dark and the cold. And next week, finally in this section, the acid test of any location, the haircut.
Yes. So this is a town you haven't been to before?
Not haircut-wise, no. I put myself into a hair salon with, a pun in the name. But the woman, Angela, who answered the phone and took the appointment, was very efficient, even so much as to be calling me by my name, which I think is very important. Announced the name of the salon and said it was Angela speaking. I said, hello, Angela, it's Judith here. And then she called me Judith throughout the conversation, which I think is quite professional, don't you?
Yeah. Very good. I've got to brave a haircut fairly soon. I'm starting to look like someone who would stand on a street corner shouting, flowers are lovely, dear. All fresh and all cheap.
Yes. So back to what's her name? Best friend, bestie?
No, she's a bit too busy, really, nowadays to fit me in. So I thought I'd just pop somewhere on the high street. But it's quite a daunting prospect.
It's a very daunting prospect.
You don't know what you're going to get, do you?
No.
I only want a bob.
You haven't Googled to see if anybody will come and do you at home, have you?
I don't really. I think I need to get out the house a bit, Judy.
Yes, I like them. I like them when they come to the house. I don't like hairdressing salons. That's part of my problem. All that sitting around and looking at yourself in a mirror for an hour.
Oh yeah, I don't look at myself. I read magazines. Hello, mostly.
Rim. Tell me what's fueled your fire.
Well, I've had a really good week. I had a new client call, and I said to her, "How did you hear of me?" Because I didn't know her at all, and she said, "Oh, I'm a podcast listener." And she said, then I came to the website and I bought your book and I listened and I bought the audio on Audible and I listened to that.
What a good girl.
And then I got on your mailing list, obviously, and I've been hearing from you ever since.
She went through the process.
Yeah. And it's a while since someone's actually done that or said that. And so I just thought I'd report back that, the Own It is doing a good job now, which is great. So I'm actually thinking of boosting our reach because I feel I need to be doing some advertising and I'm not, obviously Facebook is a little bit tricky nowadays, but they can't possibly object to me boosting our, the recorded, where people can listen in Facebook. I think that would be a good...
The thing that goes out on Monday. Yeah. But certainly the podcast is the only marketing I do. Yeah.
Well, it's really coming into its own now. If people are booking into diaries from scratch, that's really good news, isn't it?
You know that woman that did or does go out with and may even by now be married to Mark Mawhinney.
I remember her vaguely, yes. She organises podcasts.
She does. And if I had my time over, that's probably what I would spend my marketing budget on.
What, getting onto other people's podcasts?
Yes.
Do you know, you've just reminded me about her, so yes, I'll have to think about that.
She's not cheap, darling.
Oh, no, I know that. That's why I didn't do it last time.
No, quite.
Yeah. So I do remember thinking that it was worth it, but a bit out of reach at the time, yeah.
Well, I think it would be the same as any marketing, which is how much do we need to pay for how long before it returns what we're spending?
Yes, it's a challenge, isn't it? And I've had this conversation, funnily enough, just recently with one of my business mentors about, if you get clicks for $2 and you get a lead for $3, how long can you afford to keep doing that before someone converts into a sale, and how much do you sell, and what's that customer worth to you? And it's all about the cash flow in the early days, isn't it? Because you don't know any of the answers to those questions until it actually happens.
No, and I think there's a difference between being on a cold podcast, as it were, and being on a warm one like Alice and Louise's.
Yes. Talking of podcasts, also fueled my fire today was that was why I was up at the crack of dawn. I was interviewing Meryl Johnston, who is the founder of Bean Ninjas, which is an accounting firm, global accounting firm. Started the same week I did with the Facebook ads agency, and we both followed Dan Norris's 7-day startup process. And she was telling me all about it today because she was an accountant and then she had her own accounting consultancy, and she got together with another accountant in Australia and they packagized accountancy services and did very well with it. And it's growing and growing and growing. They work exclusively with people who use Xero as a cloud-based accounting package. And they are really getting very big indeed with people who are digital nomads, e-commerce owners, coaches, consultants and authors, people who work on the move and on the go and who like having an accounting package that they can access from anywhere.
And having almost every service provided digitally.
Yes. And so that was a really interesting story. So I'm looking forward. So nowadays what I do with these podcast interviews is I get them to tell me their biggest money tip first. And then we go into a sort of entrepreneurial journey kind of interview, which goes on to another podcast. The money tip goes on to the Money Gym podcast. And then if there's a good story in there, a story of resilience and overcoming, challenges, then I'll put it on the resilience podcast as well. So she was delighted to hear she might get 3 bites of the cherry for 45 minutes.
But she's not on one where you hear the whole thing, or she is?
Oh, she will be, yes. It'll be on the Clicks and Leads podcast for that one.
Okay.
Yeah, old story, yeah. It's nice. I sort of always forget how much I enjoyed. Well, it's not even interviewing, is it? It's having a conversation with people. I really enjoy that, but I need to do more of it. But now Sarah's not around to organise it all. It's less likely to happen. But that's, fueled my fire, got me going at 7 o'clock in the morning, so that's not bad. Have you told me what fueled your fire?
No, I was waiting for you to ask nicely. Like a good girl, I was sitting here thinking, in a minute she'll ask me what's fueled my fire.
Instead of talking endlessly.
No, you weren't talking endlessly. I was also thinking, she is quite good at interviewing people, and she's a bit inclined to go into interview mode often in a conversation. You take that role more easily than the other. Yes.
So tell me what's fueled your fire, Judith.
Thank you, Nicola. I'm going to read you 2 testimonials, not by way of showing off, but because I like them for different reasons. And one comes from a first session and one comes from a final session. And they both came in on Tuesday afternoon.
Oh, nice.
And I got permission from the first lady to share it. Her name's Stephanie, and she's an artist in Rhode Island. I haven't got permission for the second one, so I'm going to give you that one anonymously. But the first one says, as I was driving into work and thinking about our conversation, it struck me that you have an incredible knack for distilling everything down to its essence in a very joyful manner. It's so easy for me to get all stuck and worried in my head about doing this and that thing as ways to center myself, cooking, meditating, exercise, etc., as ways to prepare myself for doing art, which when I type it out is making me laugh. Really, all I need to do is do the art. Thank you for clarifying that the art is my number one priority, and if I do anything at all, this is the thing to be doing to move myself forward. Not that meditation and yoga and all of that aren't good, but the art is what's really going to get me to where I want to be. It's incredibly simple, and why has it been so hard for me to come to that conclusion on my own? Lol. In any case, thank you again for your exuberant clarity. I'm going to give this a go and see where I'm at in another month. Okay, so I like this one because it tells me perhaps things I didn't know about myself. And I like the next one because it tells me something I totally knew about myself, but the client didn't think that I did. So this is from a lady who was having her last session after a year in Club 100. Thank you for today. This year has been the most difficult for me since I started in business, and that's no exaggeration. I felt like packing it in at times. I've been very grateful for your gentle, non-judging ear to listen and the wise words. You might not realize it, but you've made a massive difference to my mindset. I will be forever grateful. Well, of course I realize it. It's my sole reason for being in her life for 12 months. I love the idea that she didn't know that, of course I knew that's what I was doing, making a massive difference to her mindset. So she could not just survive, but thrive and grow in confidence as a business owner through her most difficult year. And I love the idea that she didn't think I knew that. So the first woman told me something I didn't know. And the second woman told me something I knew through and through 1,000 times over, which was both on the same afternoon. They may even have been back-to-back calls like 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. It was like, testimonial afternoon. It was really nice.
Oh, I love getting testimonials. It's really cool, isn't it? Especially when you do something that you didn't think was anything special at the time, and it makes a huge difference to someone.
Yeah, I like the first one, actually, because it told me something I didn't know. And she uses good words for an artist, an incredible knack for distilling everything down to its essence in a very joyful manner. That's nice.
Yeah, joyful exuberance I liked as well.
Yeah, exuberant clarity. Yes,
yeah, that's
exactly.
It. Yes.
Yeah, she's a good wordsmith. Anyway, shall we move on to Focus of the Week?
Yes, go on then.
I think this is going to be quite a short one because I don't know what I'm going to say on the topic, but let's see. So I have a client who's a novelist and we've been working together. I meant to look this up for about 5 years. And all that time she's been working on a very big and serious novel, which is way in excess of 100,000 words. And it was she that taught me that in publishing, there is a belief that you can write for either revenue, write these words down because they're important, revenue, readers, or respect.
Mm-hmm.
And when I asked her to remind me of those 3 R words, which I do quite often because I can never remember them, I'm not quite so sure why, she said something to me that she's never said before. So the first thing that she said, which I knew about her, was respect is what she wants. And what we're going to do in a minute is we're going to come back and we're going to look at revenue, readers, and respect, not just in the publishing or writing arena, but in the business arena. But she says here, the idea is that if you focus strongly enough on one, you get all 3. Now, she's never said that to me before. She's always said to me it's choice. So let's have a think. If you focus enough on, say, respect, if your novel is respected, you'll get revenue and readers. Yeah, that probably makes sense. If you focus on revenue and you sell a lot, you'll definitely get readers, but will you get respect? No, I think we all poo-pooed Christian Grey, didn't we? What were those books called? The Grey thingy.
Yes.
We did. There was no respect.
50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, but nobody respected that, did they? Except in financial terms.
No, nobody did respect it. Very badly written.
Well, I haven't even read them, so there you go. So I quite like her idea that if you focus strongly enough on one, you'll get on 3, but she wants respect, most of all, as a novelist. Let's start there. If you were a novelist, or indeed, let's start as writers. If you were writers and you had to choose between revenue, readers, and respect, what would you want?
Well, I've got really good insight here because I've been a member of a writing group, some of whom were very highly educated in the field of English literature and novel writing.
Yes.
Linda had an MA.
By the way, that was my client too. She's that type.
Yeah, yeah, but she, funny enough, is the one who would rather have the readers.
The money. Yeah. Oh, the readers.
No, she doesn't care about the money.
Okay, she wants to be read.
She wants to be read. Yes,
okay.
and she obviously wants respect, but it's very much a sideline to people reading her story, which is a novel, so it's not even about her. It's semi-autobiographical. Then there's another lady in the group who only wants respect. She doesn't care necessarily how many people read her book. She doesn't care if she makes any money from it, but and that's why she's determined to go down the traditional publishing route and find herself an agent and a publisher.
Yes, actually, my client too. Yeah.
She says this quite openly as well. She needs external validation. She won't ever feel like a writer unless she gets an agent and a publisher and people respect her work.
Yes.
And then there's the person who we all knew who lived in Greece, who started churning out books about living in Greece, sort of farcical, funny books, but everybody didn't find them very funny. They found them a little bit patronising towards Greek people. Yeah. But she gained a lot of readers, and she's on book 9 now. She's now making a really decent revenue, which is why she started. She started absolutely unapologetically to make money because she needed to live in Greece and she couldn't get a job out there. And I think she was writing copy for bridal websites or something to survive. But now she's got a series of 9 books, and every new one brings new readers, and they go back and buy the other books. So So it's interesting, isn't it? I had started out with the intention of revenue, and obviously to have revenue you need readers, but actually, and so I was going to go down the self-published route because I knew it's a long, painful process. Only one in 1,000 gets a publishing deal, so I wasn't going to go down a road that was slow, painful, and almost impossible. I was going to go straight to self-publishing. But what I've learned from self-publishing business books is that you need respect. You need the respect of the people who read your books because you need reviews. And that helps you to get new readers and earn more revenue. So, and a lot of people do fudge the review system. They pay for reviews in some way or another, although Amazon does try to clamp down on it. So, so I think the 3 go together really, but it different motivations
And you see, it's occurred to me since we agreed we would discuss this, that actually if all you want to be read, you could give your books away.
Yes, you could, but that doesn't guarantee people are going to read them, because people often don't read things that they don't value.
That doesn't.
But
what I'm saying is these things they work independently of each other as well as together.
So is she saying that all the people who work in the publishing industry think about this as well? I think
it's an orthodox, old-fashioned, proper orthodox publishing, widely held tenet.
Because if you've got, let's think about this. So revenue is a bestseller, isn't it? And it can be a Jimmy Cooper.
Or something that does very nicely, thank you very much.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And then there's readers, which is where it's popular, but doesn't necessarily sell bucket loads and doesn't necessarily incur the respect of your peers and the industry.
Yes, agreed.
And then respect is presumably the respect of your writing peers.
It gets well reviewed. Yes, it gets well reviewed. And that doesn't mean, just because we've read something that's well reviewed, doesn't mean we'd either buy it, i.e. revenue, or read it, because it might be not our thing or too hard going. I mean, there's lots of well reviewed things. One tends to end up in book clubs where they want you to read Jonathan Franson's The Corrections or something, which was well reviewed. He's respected, but actually it's quite a hard read.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah,
you might give it up halfway through. But it occurs to me that this doesn't just apply to publishing. In fact, when I Googled it, it didn't really. These words were spoken of together, but often in other industries. Oh, okay. So for instance, in your business and mine, we want revenue, we want respect, and we want readers, but they're not readers, they're clients.
See, I don't actually care about the respect thing, because I
don't think, unless you're respected, I don't think you'll get a client.
Well, that's exactly the point, isn't it? Is it the respect of your peers you're after?
No. I want to be not peers, but to be held in respect. If you're not respected from your marketing output, and people can't see the value of you, they're not going to hire you.
No, absolutely right. But you equally don't need to go down the certification, supervision, credential route.
That's why you and I, as a couple of raging entrepreneurs, are more interested in the revenue and the readers than we are in the respect. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. But so, for example, if your marketing material was riddled with typos and spelling mistakes, you wouldn't gain anyone's respect, even no matter how good you were.
And probably wouldn't gain a client unless somebody didn't give a shit about that. And these days they don't. But if we think about, say, tomorrow I'm going out to lunch to a restaurant with Emma, they need the money to be profitable. They need the diners to come, and they need to be held. So they need all three of those. Now, let's have a think about a shop. Sainsbury's. They need the revenue. They need the customers. Do they need respect? I don't really respect Sainsbury's. It's a bit like the experience I had with the electricity company yesterday. I respect them a lot more than any other company I've ever had utilities from. We don't respect utility companies. We battle with them to get the service that we want. We don't respect them. But I do respect SSEN now for the way they handled me yesterday. So, I think they're like a virtuous triangle, these three things.
Yes.
Yeah. Although, of course, with SSEN, I don't have a choice about who my supplier is.
And of course, if you're a restaurant, you could go to. I mean, Wetherspoons have got revenue and readers, but they haven't got the respect.
No, they haven't. But actually, it depends what you're trying to achieve, doesn't it? I think you've got the respect of, if you target yourself at high end, you might get a certain snobbish sort of well-reviewed respect. But actually, I often respect people who I would never buy their product and don't like their product. I respect them for their financial achievements. And my favourite quote on this is Andrew Lloyd Webber. I don't go to any of his shows. I don't think he's talented, but I respect his contribution to the balance of payments because he's very popular, very popular internationally, and people do love his stuff. Yeah, so he's got revenue and readers, but he hasn't got my respect, and he'll never have it, sadly. Sorry, Andrew. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. I do. So
as a business owner or writer or artist or anything, even I'm sure the artists that are listening to this are thinking, yes, Judith, you've got to consider, actually, what do I want?
What do I want first?
Or what do I need in my line of work?
In order to be successful?
Well, I think we probably all need revenue. Otherwise, I don't know why we're bothering.
Well, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people who are financially independent who don't even give that a second thought.
Yeah, but I don't think there are listeners, are they? They're not business owners. They're not our target market.
No. Business owners always want revenue. Ideally, revenue and profit, because the two are separate.
Yeah, that's right. But I think that this is revenue just means money in this example because it's handy. Another an R word so it's money, isn't it? Is what it means, or that somebody will buy it.
Money,
yes, paying customers. Yes, paying customers, because readers, they don't have to pay. Is my point.
Yes.
People serialize books in the Daily Mail and things like that. You don't actually have to pay to buy it often.
Yes. I don't know. It's so long since I've read a newspaper or
quite,
magazine,
I know. But what I'm saying is there's other routes to market to be read. Respect is my number one. The idea is that if you focus strongly enough on one, you'll get all three. So let's put that to the test. If we focus on revenue, will we get readers and respect? If we focus on readers, will we get revenue and respect? I don't think that's true, you see.
No. But
I think there's a 2 out of 3 ain't bad. But I don't think if you focus enough on one, you'll get all three. I think if you focus enough on one, you'll probably get at least another one.
It reminds me a little bit of that triangle: service, price, and what's the other one?
Don't know.
There's a triangle about price, service, and what's the third thing? I can't remember what it is. Product, perhaps. Product quality. Okay, so that's a similar kind of thing, isn't it? That you can only have, if you have to focus on being the cheapest or the most expensive. You have to focus on being the best or good enough, and you have to focus on fantastic customer service or so-so customer service. All those no reply at your domain. Oh my God, that drives me absolutely crazy. Why people send me an email from a no reply email address is just the height of rudeness, I think.
That's mainly kind of big.
Yes, it is.
It's like something like GoDaddy, isn't it? That's saying
absolutely. And it's really, that's not going to earn my respect. And it's probably going to stop me giving you revenue because I'm going to stop being one of your readers.
So interesting. I think this is actually what you're saying there is it's quite subjective. I've never, funnily enough, somebody mentioned this week feeling something similar when people send email addresses that are info at. I don't have any feelings about either of those, no reply at or info at. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, well, let me just say, for one thing, you should stop doing it immediately if you are, because those emails are less likely to get through to people's Gmail accounts, so you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
But I think by having a no reply email address or one that isn't monitored, you're really showing a lot of disrespect to your customers.
I think that's right. We're sending you this, but we couldn't care less what you think about it.
Whether you want to hit reply or not. Yeah, and that's daft because that's the fastest way to get feedback from customers, isn't it? Is to send them something and invite their response. It really is.
Yeah, there's easier ways of doing it, aren't there?
Oh, who knows? I've never managed to get any decent feedback from anyone. I think the only feedback that counts is whether they give you revenue.
Well, I think that's the acid test. If you offer it for money, will people pay for it? Yes.
Yeah. So imagine if we were, think of business coaches I respect. You are more likely to hire them, aren't you?
I think there needs to be a respectful relationship, two-way. So I respect the client respects me. Otherwise, what's the point? I don't think you'd get hired unless they respected your acumen or your experience or your style or
your reputation.
Yeah.
If someone who gets results, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, that's an interesting topic. Have we done it?
I think we have, but actually, I think it will stay with us a bit because I definitely would like to hear from the listener, whether or not they're a writer or whether or not they're a business owner, what their take is on either revenue, readers and respect, or what were your three: service, product and
price.
Price, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to have an eye on all three, haven't you?
You have, yeah, but sometimes by having an eye on all three, you put yourself firmly smack bang in the middle of mediocrity.
Well, and I'm also thinking now of the man that invented Tesco, pile it high, sell it cheap. Did we respect that? No, we just liked it.
Yes, good point.
Do you see? So yeah. I don't think if you focus strongly enough on one, you'll get all three. I don't think it's necessary to have all three for a successful outcome, either as a writer or as anything, really.
Yeah, well, I suppose it just helps people focus, doesn't it? Because as I say, if you try and please everyone all the time, you're not going to please none of the time.
I definitely agree. If in the literal sense of this quote, as a novelist, if she knows she wants respect and she's writing a novel that she believes will achieve that for her, then that's hugely motivating through the lengthy process.
Do you know, sometimes being respected as a novelist is all about grammar. Is this book well written? And turgid or dull as ditchwater as it may be, if it's well written, it's more likely to get entered into prizes. If it's literary, i.e. well written.
Yeah, I definitely think literary. I don't think you can just do well written. I think you need a good story. Because actually, if you've got a good story, you don't really notice the well writtenness. It's there and it helps you as a reader. But I like it when I'm not thinking, oh, this is very well written.
Well, a lot of times I do notice whether things are well written, but I also a lot of times have read things on other people's recommendations that have been literary classics, and I thought, this is dull as ditchwater.
Yeah, I don't think that the literary classic was made for you, Nicola Cairncross.
No,
I'm so sorry about that. I don't think it was. I think I could pretend to that more than you.
Yes. I remember, I'm getting to the stage now where I'm reading a book at the moment I think I might have to give up on. It's called A Million Miles and 1,000 Years, and it's by it's won lots of prizes, and it's about a screenwriter who writes memoirs of his life, and then one gets picked up and two movie producers turn up at his house and want to spend 6 months with him turning his memoir into a screenplay. So it's quite meta. It's a screenplay about the memoir of a screenplay writer.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd really enjoy it, but it's really very dull. I might just have to stop because the point of it is that he starts to rediscover his life, and he's going through a very bad patch when these two turn up, and he starts to rediscover his life because he's being forced to edit his own memoirs and create a screenplay that follows the hero's journey. So he starts to live his life more because it's thrown up to him in high relief that he wasn't living his life, he was just existing. And so I thought I loved that idea, the whole thing of it being a screenplay and the meta part of it, and the fact that he was going to have to change and go on a journey and everything. But somehow they've managed to make it very dull.
It's a very good title. I think it's a very good title, A Million Miles and 1,000 Years. That would make me want to buy it. Now,
absolutely.
Let me ask you, did you buy it?
I did buy it, yes.
Okay, so he's had revenue.
Yes.
He hasn't got a reader because you're not going to finish it.
I'm wavering.
And he hasn't got your respect.
No, although it did win lots of prizes.
Well, he hasn't got your respect.
No. But who cares really about my literary criticism?
Well, I'm thinking if you win lots of literary prizes, it doesn't necessarily guarantee you either revenue or readers.
No, it means your peers like it.
Yeah. And I can see why people would want that. It's reputation in a way.
Yeah. Well, that's why people publish academic papers and scientific papers and things, isn't it? Because and they get respect and get widely known because people link to it. And
well, I think it's the whole game in science, because what you're doing is you're pushing the envelope and you're laying claim to that. It does enhance your reputation, but I don't think it's the number one reason why you do it. I think it's the whole point of what you do for a living. I'm pleased that these three things, whatever we decide to call them, can apply to a business and a creative output. Actually, the artists that we cross over with now, anybody listening to this can consider, what do I want? And have I shaped my offering in a way to get what I want?
Yes.
That's it, really. Yeah, good.
Oh, good. Nice. No, I like it. Nice topic.
All right. So, on the subject of words, what's yours?
TikTok, for reasons that will become obvious in a moment.
Okay. Didn't you choose that one before?
No, I haven't used it as a word of the week yet.
All right. So that nice new client who gave me that fabulous testimonial she said that one of the reasons that she thought she was coming to me was that I might help her achieve some discipline. And I went, oh, I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so. That's, it's got all these connotations of detention and punishment. And I don't believe that's a way to achieve anything lovely. And blissfully, Irene shared in our I Love My Life group earlier that same day an Abraham quote that says, discipline is of value, but discipline yourself to feel good. That is the only discipline you need. And I'd already told this woman that before I knew I remembered that somebody had shared something good, and I said, I'll see if I can go and find it for you. And I found it easily because Irene had put it in a group. But discipline, no, that's just got a horrible overload of you've been naughty at school and you're left behind after school as a punishment.
Yeah.
Horrible. Anyway, that's my word of the week, discipline. I don't, if you're coming to me for discipline, that's not really the way I think you want to go about achieving what you want in life, to be honest.
Yeah, people sometimes say, I want accountability. And I think, well, why do you not care about what you're doing to need someone's external accountability? Surely you want to be accountable to yourself. Otherwise, you're never going to get anywhere, are you?
Well, I can understand why you think that. And I think the answer to that one is that they've got so many distractions in their lives from their children and their partners and their grandchildren and their, usually what I have to do in the first session is get them to clear some of that out or park it or stop being such a nice girl available to everybody.
Yeah.
Because it's getting in the way of you having what you want. Now, project updates, let's go.
Okay, so here's why my word of the week is TikTok. I have never experienced such resistance and pushback against anything since I first started mentoring Twitter back in 2006. Everybody is just completely down on this, and I cannot work out why.
Because I know why.
Well, go on then.
Well, because its first association turned out to be about porn. They had to change it from whatever its first name was because
Musically.
Yes, they had to change it from that because there was one of my clients wrote to tell me, I can't remember what it is now if I've forgotten, but she told me that it had picked up, a bad reputation for, I don't know, exploiting underage girls. I don't know what it was. I can't remember. But they rebranded. Do you remember me asking you at the time, why did they rebrand? And you said, I don't know. Well, they rebranded because they got a bad rep.
Do you know, nobody who's pushed back against the idea has actually mentioned that at all.
So what's their pushback?
Their pushback is that it's frivolous and meaningless and they've got better things to do with their lives, which is all what people used to say about Facebook and Twitter in the olden days as well. It's really interesting. And even my kids, I'm not even allowed to mention the word TikTok in this house. So I have to put my headphones on if I'm actually looking at it. And the thing, I found it to be the most unbelievably creative platform that's come along for a long time. People are mixing up music and video and they're showing their lives. And I mean, some of the things I see are people living lives that are just so extraordinary. And I absolutely love it. And I can't imagine where else you could get 100 plus views on a 15 to 60 second video that you put up when you haven't got even 100 followers. So it's the biggest opportunity on a new social platform, but everybody without exception is they take one look at it and they go, oh no, I can't be doing with that.
I don't think anybody wants a new social media platform. I think they're overwhelmed by the amount of them out there already. And some of them are getting to be quite toxic places as well. I went to Twitter this morning. I thought, I can't be doing with this. It's just full of people being horrible to each other.
Yeah, there's a lot of politics on
Politics, absolutely. Yeah, politics and media, and it's all about people being horrid.
I think, though, that Twitter is what you find it. So it's like, the minute you start liking things and hiding other things.
Well, don't forget, I stripped mine back to 50 people. I only follow people I know. But even the people I know are, well, it's because we're coming up to a general election, isn't it?
Yes, I suppose it is. Yeah. But so anyway, I'm going to persevere with this because I was right about Twitter and Facebook when they came along and YouTube, and I'm going to be right about this. I think it's getting old. The demographics getting older by the day. I'm seeing more and more people of over 30, even though there's a little bit of pushback from the kids on that. But I follow some quite interesting older people, and one in particular is called the Chatty Farmer, and he TikToks from his farm every day, and he's down in the West Country, and he's got this delightful accent, and he speaks to all his animals, and he's got names for them all, and it's really very sweet. Lots of geese and chickens and pigs and donkeys and sunsets and sunrises and wellies.
It's a very strange thing that a farmer who's already a busy man would find the time or even have the desire to document that and share it on social media with the world. It's very strange.
Yes, and he's got hundreds of thousands of followers because he got on there about 6 months ago, and people love his little videos.
Yeah,
and it's just. And they share. I've just figured out how to share the stuff I like now. So if anyone wants to see the kind of things that I'm enjoying on TikTok and the potential for the different types of creative promotional videos you could do around your business, come and find me, Nicola Cairnex, as always. And so I'm now enjoying sharing the best things. The weirdest thing I saw yesterday, I mean, I've seen some weird things on there, but the weirdest thing I saw was someone filming a massive crowd of chickens coming over a hill and crossing over the road in front of this person, and it was like the zombie apocalypse was coming, and that they were running away from us. I couldn't stop watching it. It was so strange.
Is your pushback from your children saying they don't want to see that, or they'll never make time to see that? Because I don't want to see that, and I'll never make time to see that.
Well, I didn't know I wanted to see it happen. It made me laugh so much. Their pushback is that they don't want any more social media platforms.
Yeah, I'm with them.
But the point is, they both have things they want to promote online, and they cannot do it on Facebook because all the oldies are on there. They cannot do it on Instagram because their reach is throttled. They should be building a following on TikTok now, so that in 6 months' time they've got an audience to promote their stuff to.
Well, their mum telling what they should be doing is never going to be appealing.
No, I suppose not.
And don't forget you are an early adopter.
I know, it's very frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody will catch up with you if you're right.
Yes, when I've got hundreds of thousands of followers. I've got 43 at the moment. So I thought I'd just document, perhaps once a month how my TikTok prowess is going.
Okay.
But I'm thoroughly enjoying it anyway. So open your mind, people, and have a look. And again, it's like anything else. The more you like things that you like, the more of that you'll see. So I see lots of animals, lots of surfing, lots of animals, lots of puppies and kittens, I must confess, and lots of talking animals. So that's where I see the nice side of it.
I think in this day and age, we have to have a very fast-acting filter to... There's something in that for me, there's nothing in that for me. Otherwise, a lot of my clients are just in this stasis of overwhelm because there's so much information that's coming at them. In fact, one of them went so far as to say, can you remove me from the group because I don't want to be comparing myself with people who are making sales pages and videos and feel bad about it and I went, you don't need to, I'll take you out immediately. People, the better, the stronger, the more robust filter you've got that you implement faster, because it took her a year to say that to me, the more you're going to go your own way, which I will encourage her with. And I'm not saying that actually what she's selling isn't appropriate for TikTok, but
lots of artists on TikTok sharing their artistic endeavours. It's really interesting.
Okay.
Alice Sheridan, get on there quick. Come on, girl.
You said that last time, and notice she did take notice of you then either. Right,
Well,
tell me who or what's impressed you.
No. We've that was my
project. You've got more
updates.
projects.
No, I haven't. Have you got any?
No, never.
Oh, right.
So, as I said, who or what's impressed you?
The Crown Series 3, which is why I shut you down earlier.
And guess what? Who or what's impressed me? The Crown Series 3.
Oh,
yes, tell me why it's. Tell me why it's impressed you. Don't spoil it for everybody. Try and keep it about your art, your reader response. What was it? Reader revenue respect. Try and keep it in that, as a critic.
Well, it's the late 60s, early 70s, which is about the time my consciousness came into being. And the music is absolutely brilliant. And I'm really loving the music and the fashion.
Well, 2 reasons to say. Yeah. First 2 reasons of mine. The music is wonderful, and it's in our lifetime. Stories we can actually remember happening. Harold Wilson, Edward Heath, and Abba Van. Brilliant.
Yeah, and I keep being surprised by things. So, for example, I wasn't aware that the Queen and Harold Wilson got on really well. I wasn't aware that Edward Heath was single and played the piano. I was around. In fact, we lived in Wales when the power cuts were on, and I remember that vividly. How old was I? I must have been about 8 or 9, I suppose, when all that was going on, and we had candles galore down there. Yeah, so I'm just really, really enjoying it, and it makes you realise some of the stuff that's coming out. It must be real, or they wouldn't be able to show it, surely, as if it was real. Some of the things like,
Well, if you Google it, as I did, it tells you there's lots of articles. 10 facts the Crown Series 3 got wrong, but the most of it's right. Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Anyway, really enjoyed it. Binge watched all Sunday, and then couldn't help myself. Never do this, never. But I did it on this one, and I seem to recall I did it on the last series as well. I just couldn't stop watching it. Hours slipped past joyfully.
I I did know that Edward Heath Plays the Piano was single. I didn't know that Harold Wilson was such a nice man.
Yes, he came across really well, didn't he?
Yes.
And the acting is superb. I think that helps enormously. And they do really look like the people, don't they?
And the production values are awesome.
Yeah. I love the furniture. I love the places. I love the. Although I've got to say, the Queen, has she always been that frumpy? Because she looks seriously frumpy in some of those frocks.
Yes, I think is the short answer.
So what do you like about it? All the same things?
Yes, music, Harold Wilson. I cried quite a lot. I cried in I thought actually the actor who we adore from the Greek programme, who was cast as Prince Charles, even made Prince Charles sympathetic, which I think is quite hard work.
That's who he was. Yes.
I love the actor that taught. Yeah, I love the actor that taught him Welsh. I love him. He's one of my favourites. The acting, the darkness, because in my first job it was the Winter of Discontent, and we were only allowed to type. We were only allowed electricity 3 days a week. Fortunately, in those days we were on manual typewriters, but we did. So I think electric typewriters came in at the end of the coal strike. I do remember all of this, and I found it quite moving. A lot of it very moving to see it from a different perspective, because I'd only seen it from the perspective of the television watcher, the news watcher, as an early teenager, actually.
Yeah, and you're talking of the music. It's not just the pop songs you hear. The actual soundtrack is really well done. I mean, that bit where the mountain's about to go and the undercurrent of menace in the background music was so well done. I know. And I I watched a lot of it on my computer with my headset on. I'm not quite sure why, but I did. And the quality of the music is so good that I Googled to see if it was the same theme in series 1 and 2, because I don't remember it being so good. It was the same theme, and I shared with my group a link to all the music from it, which is Classic FM. I've got an article on that. I did a lot of Googling around it because I wanted to double check what they were teaching us, really. Yeah. Brilliant. Awesome. Well, how funny we had the same thing. Good stuff. All right, then. Well, that's us done for another week. Yep. Speak to you soon. See you next week. Okay. Bye. You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.